Hello everyone, welcome to today's story. What will happen if James's mother suddenly appears and meets Diep right in the middle of the village market? Will she accept the poor girl, or find a way to stand in their path? And when James returns, will his love for Diep be strong enough to withstand his mother's gaze? Stay with us until the end to discover the answer. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to help our channel reach 1,000 followers. Your support gives us the strength to bring you even more heartfelt stories. Morning broke gently over the mountains. The last traces of mist clung to the blades of grass along the hillside, glistening like crystals left behind after a long night. The air was so pure that the calls of birds echoed clearly across the slopes, like a melody welcoming the new day. Today, James was different. He set aside unfinished projects, left behind tense meetings in glass-walled offices, and the weight of his packed schedule. He wanted to follow Diep, to join her in the fields harvesting ginger to sell at the market. Within him stirred a simple yet powerful yearning. To understand, to touch the quiet hardships Diep had endured. He longed to step into her world, a world without glaring neon lights or stacks of reports, but only soil, plants, and sweat soaking into rows of ginger. Above all, he wanted to make up for the burdens borne alone by the fragile girl at his side. The mountain path stretched gently ahead. On either side, lush green trees framed clusters of wild purple myrrh, tel and sim flowers, a backdrop for the two figures casting long shadows across the hill. They walked slowly, their footsteps blending with the rustle of wind through the leaves. No words were needed, just walking side by side, as if even the sky behind them had quieted into a moment of peace. At the wide patch of land, where ginger roots lay hidden beneath damp soil still scented with last night's rain, Diep knelt down. Her practiced hands gently dug, twisted, and lifted each root with care. Her movements were firm yet tender, as though honoring the very fruits shaped by her sweat and toil. James knelt beside her, trying to mimic her motions, but his hands, accustomed only to holding pens and gliding across keyboards, fumbled awkwardly. Dirt smeared across his trousers, clinging to his pale fingers. Diep laughed softly, shaking her head, before patiently guiding him step by step. The morning sunlight slanted through the trees, spilling across her focused face, making the loose strands of her hair shimmer like delicate silk. James froze, lifting his gaze. In that moment, he no longer noticed the mud or his own clumsiness. All he saw was Diep, extraordinarily beautiful in her simplicity. A faint smile curved on his lips, carrying an emotion hard to name, both a sense of peace and an aching desire to hold on forever. As they walked, they talked. James asked curiously about past harvests, while Diep spoke in her warm, steady voice of sudden rains, of long droughts, of the joy of abundance, and the sorrow of loss. Each story was like a fragment of her life, drawing James in so completely that he listened without pause, occasionally slipping in a clumsy joke that made Diep burst into soft laughter. Amid the vast mountains, their voices and laughter rang out, pure, as if blending with the murmur of the brook at the hillside's foot, gentle, yet deeply stirring. When they reached the market, the scene changed entirely. The once quiet air now thrummed with shouts of vendors and cheerful chatter. The breeze carried the sense of rustic treats, sticky rice still warm, sweet cakes, fresh herbs from baskets along the path. Indigo and brown garments mingled together, weaving a vivid tapestry of the highlands. Diep spread out a mat and neatly stacked the ginger. James knelt beside her without hesitation, arranging each root, brushing away the clinging soil. For the first time, Diep saw a completely different James. Not the man of polished offices, but a simple companion, walking with her through every humble hardship of daily life. A strange joy slipped into her heart, easing all her weariness. She suddenly realized that the distance which once seemed insurmountable between them could, in fact, be bridged by moments as simple as this. But in the distance, amid the bustling crowd, a pair of eyes quietly watched. James's mother stood there, her hand tightening around the strap of her bag. She did not step forward, only looked on as her son blended into the humble rhythm of the market. In that instant, she faltered, startled to recognize that the girl with the pure smile among the crowd was the very same vendor she had once met. A flicker of thought darkened her gaze, and the curve of her lips formed a smile, not entirely warm. Deep within, her eyes still held a trace of doubt, as though she could not yet believe that a poor country girl could truly step into her son's world. And from that very gaze, the story began to shift toward a new crossroads, where chance encounters might reveal hidden trials not so easily overcome. That morning, the sun blazed fiercely as it climbed higher. Diep wore her conical hat, a small crossbody bag slung at her side, and quietly made her way along the winding dirt road leading down to the district town. The golden sunlight scorched her shoulders, each step growing heavier, yet she pressed on, her mind fixed only on the flock of chickens and ducks waiting to be fed. At the store, Diep carefully chose each sack of feed. Her slight shoulders trembled as she struggled to drag the heavy bag down. Her face paled, a bead of sweat sliding down her cheek. Leaving the shop, her hands weighed down, she trudged along the sun-baked road. A short distance felt endless. Halfway down the path, dizziness overtook her. Her forehead burned. Her breath came fast and shallow. She sank down against an old wall, the heavy sack set beside her, her body drained of all strength. With her eyes half closed, the whole sky seemed to sway above her. Just then, a motorbike slowed to a stop. A woman in a dark blue dress, her hair neatly tied, stepped down. It was James's mother. She started in surprise when she realized that the girl slumped against the wall was none other than Diep. She hurried over, bending down to look at Diep, her voice laced with concern, though her eyes carried a flicker of scrutiny. "What's the matter, child? Let me take you home." Diep shook her head, embarrassed as she tried to refuse, her eyes avoiding hers as if afraid of being a burden. But with just one glance, James's mother saw the pallor on her face, the telltale sign of heat stroke. She bent down, lifted the heavy sack with ease, her gaze quietly observing Diep's every movement, then helped her to her feet. Her voice was low, part scolding, part probing. "Come now. Out in the midday sun like this. How long could you possibly endure alone?" Diep nodded, flustered, her heart swelling with a tangled feeling. Shy for troubling someone, yet warmed by the unexpected care. In a faint whisper, she murmured, I'm truly troubling you too much." The woman gave a small smile, though it wasn't entirely pure. She shook her head. "It's no trouble at all. But remember, there won't always be someone there to help at just the right time." Her voice remained warm, yet slow, carrying an undercurrent hard to grasp. Diep could only bow her head, walking silently at her side, unaware that this gentleness bore not only warmth, but also the quiet doubts James's mother was not yet ready to let go. When the motorbike stopped at the gate, Diep hesitantly invited her in. The small courtyard carried the faint scent of dried straw. Beneath the shade of leafy trees, chicks scurried at their mother's feet, while rows of lush green vegetables stretched across one corner of the garden, thriving as a testament to the diligent hands that tended them day after day. James's mother paused, a flicker of surprise crossing her eyes at the sight of the flourishing garden and the flocks of poultry. She gave a slight nod, a faint smile appearing on her lips. "You're still so young, yet so capable." Just those few words were enough to bring a blush to Diep's cheeks. She bowed her head shyly, mumbling a soft thanks. Within her rose a flicker of modest pride, mingled with embarrassment at the praise. The two women sat down at the bamboo table beneath the porch. Fresh tea was poured, its steam rising in fragrant curls, blending with the scent of leaves from the garden. The silence was so deep that even the faint whisper of wind through the branches could be clearly heard. James's mother began to speak, her voice slow, part inquiry, part subtle probing. "Why don't you live with your mother? With farm work like this, can you really manage all on your own?" Diep answered timidly, her voice soft yet honest. Her mother was weak, unable to do heavy work. Everything else, from the fields to the chickens and ducks, was borne on her own shoulders. It was hard, yes, but whenever she looked at the garden, at the animals growing day by day, she felt a quiet joy and newfound strength to keep going. James's mother listened in silence. A trace of contemplation crossed her face, and her gaze softened as she looked at Diep, with a measure of admiration and even a touch of pity for the fragile girl carrying so much alone. Yet behind that gentleness lingered a faint glimmer of doubt, the gaze of a mother wondering, could this girl truly walk beside her son in a world filled with pressure and differences? In that moment, the distance between them seemed to narrow, bridged by "we deep, simple, heartfelt words." But within the fragile tendrils of rising tea steam, the unease in James's mother's heart had not yet fully dissolved. After several days away on business, James drove back, propelled by an unshakable urge. Throughout the long journey, his mind circled around a single image. The moment he would step into the farm, see Diep again, and hear the gentle voice he had missed so desperately. The wooden gate swung open, and at that instant, James froze. Beneath the shade of the trees, Diep was sitting with his mother at the simple bamboo table. A clay teapot still released wisps of steam, its fragrance drifting with the breeze, mingling with the rustling leaves, painting a tranquil scene that nonetheless stirred an unexpected storm within him. James stood stunned for a moment. Awkwardly, he greeted his mother, his heart knotted with questions unspoken. Her gentle smile and brief explanation came. She had met Diep on the road, under the scorching sun when the girl nearly collapsed, and had brought her here. At those words, James felt his heart clench tight. He hurried forward, grasping the frail hand resting on the table. His eyes brimmed with a surge of worry as his voice broke out. "What happened to you?" Out in the blazing sun, walking alone. "Do you know how worried I've been?" Diep lowered her face, her voice as soft as a passing breeze. "I'm fine now, just a little tired." Yet her cheeks flushed red without her realizing. In front of his mother, James could not hide his concern. He held her hand tightly, asking after her with every word. That sincerity made Diep's heart tremble, warm, yet shy. Gently she withdrew her hand, stealing a glance at James's mother, uncertain of how to face her. But when she caught the gentle smile at the woman's lips, Diep exhaled softly, as though a cool breeze had slipped in, easing her embarrassment. James's mother sat quietly, observing. In every glance, in every gesture of her son, she saw a love that could not be concealed. For a fleeting moment, surprise softened into a faint smile. Yet beneath that gentleness, in the depths of her eyes, lingered a trace of thought, a silent weighing of doubts not yet fully set aside. The evening wind stirred, leaves whispering like the murmurs of the mountains. In that moment, James and Diep felt a fragile peace slip into their hearts. But beside them, a mother's heart still lingered, tender, yet burdened with unspoken reflections. That evening drew to a close in quiet calm. James and Diep sat together while his mother quietly observed, a gentle smile flickering on her lips. Yet behind what seemed like reassurance,
Đôi mắt của bạn đã che giấu nỗi ẩn sâu im lặng, câu hỏi chưa được trả lời. Sự gần gũi đơn giản của ngôi nhà khiêm tốn này thực sự xóa bỏ hồ sơ của sự giàu có và nghèo khó. Liệu sự tận tâm chân thành của Len thực sự mở rộng trái tim của mẹ anh ấy, hay đây chỉ là sự im lặng tạm thời trước khi cơn bão quay trở lại? Câu trả lời đang chờ đợi trong tập tiếp theo. Ở lại với chúng tôi để tìm hiểu, và đừng quên nhấn like, chia sẻ và đăng ký để giúp kênh của chúng tôi đạt 1.000 người theo dõi. Cảm ơn sự hỗ trợ của bạn đã giúp sức cho